You're ready to do it. You're gonna build that accessory dwelling unit you've been talking about for years. All you need to do is find a designer. Simple, but is it? The person who designs your ADU does way more than just draw a floor plan. They're responsible for every aspect of the design, inside and out. And they also have a huge impact on the cost of your construction. It's not a stretch to say that the ADU designer is one of the most important people in the entire design build process. I'm Caitlin, the founder at Maxable. After seeing the social and financial benefits of granny flats during my childhood, I felt compelled to help other families like mine. At Maxable, we help educate homeowners and source great designers and general contractors for their projects. Every time I see a new set of plans or a completed ADU, it kind of feels a little bit like Christmas. So I'm happy to get this chance to tell you why designers are so important and exactly what to do. If you want us to help you with your project, just hit the link below and you can sign up for a free ADU planning call with us. In this video, I'm going to explain why a good designer is so critical, how design impacts cost, and show you what to look for when you're interviewing a designer for your ADU. Ever since the ADU building boom took off a few years ago, it seems like everyone's been jumping on the bandwagon and trying to design an ADU. It's easy to think, well, an ADU is just like a small house, right? So any architect should be able to pull it off. But that's actually a big misconception that could cost you big bucks and some major stress. And here's why. ADU designs have unique challenges. An ADU designer must fit everything that goes into a normal size house into a much smaller footprint. Kitchen, bath, storage, counter space, appliances. It's a complicated puzzle where every inch counts. People who are used to designing big houses just don't necessarily have that skill set. And that's not to say that they couldn't develop those skills, but do you really want to be their guinea pig on a six-figure project? Not so much. Experience designing ADUs is the #1 attribute you should look for in a designer. And it's not only because they know that a vaulted ceiling makes a small room feel big and airy, or that pocket doors make more sense than barn doors when you've got limited space. Experienced ADU designers also need to know the state and local regulations, and that's really the crux of it. This is extremely crucial to the success of your project. So California is a great example. Let's look at that. In 2017, California passed SB 1069, which basically said every home zoned single family can now add a second rentable unit. But local jurisdictions also had to pass their own ADU ordinances, over 540 of them. Since then, we've had 6 more state bills passed, and those individual ordinances continue to have to get updated. On top of that, now we have things like SB 9 and SB 10, which muddies the water even more. So you can see how from 2017, there's been some major shifts in the legislation and laws. Things have changed dramatically since then and continue to change every year. So again, you want to work with a designer that can advocate for you at the city level. And if they need to educate or push back on the city planners, they're able to do so and articulate why it is they have the right to do what they've designed. A good designer will know where to find all those little quirks in the regional ADU regulations and will create an airtight set of plans that maximizes what's actually allowed. Too often we see city planners reject parts of a design that are actually totally legitimate. And then that designer has to go back and diplomatically educate that city planner. In fact, that's a big part of the designer's work. One of our partners told us that he spent more time dealing with the city than actually creating and drawing the ADU plans. And this is a designer that had a lot of experience. So you can imagine what a mess and a nightmare it would be when you're working with a designer that's an ADU newbie and hasn't had this level of experience or work with the city. Okay, now let's go back to the budget for a minute. Another trend we've seen among inexperienced ADU designers is that they underestimate the construction cost for these units. It's tempting to turn to an ADU in a case study full of cool ideas the designer has been trying out, but some of those ideas, like enormous windows or inventive roof lines or cladding every exterior wall in wood, they're going to totally bust your budget. A seasoned ADU designer will take your budget seriously, they'll have real conversations about it, they'll tell you when something on your wish list is really pricey, and they'll have alternatives ready to offer you instead. The designer's fee is usually between 8 to 10% of the cost of the ADU, but the decisions that they make will have an oversized impact on the construction costs. So the first thing you want to do is look for a designer that has ADU experience. Maxable's design partners have that experience, and so if you want to click the link below, we can source one for you. So what's the difference between a designer and an architect? Some of our design partners are architects and some are architectural designers, or just designers for short. So do you need to hire an architect, or what's the difference? Architects and architectural designers have similar schooling and do the same work on residential dwellings. The main differences between them are architects pass a national license test and are allowed to design commercial and public buildings as well as homes. Designers are only allowed to design homes, and these must be less than 3 stories tall. Architects can stamp their own plans and are legally responsible for the integrity of the structure, whereas designers hire licensed engineers to approve the structural integrity of their plans and stamp them. Architects often charge higher fees than designers. As long as a person has experience designing an accessory dwelling unit, it really doesn't matter whether you're hiring a designer or an architect. Before you start interviewing designers, though, it helps to know what services that they should be offering you are. So after you meet with your designer, your first meeting will be to brainstorm your project. Once the designer is clear on your budget and what it is that you want to build, they or someone who works for them will visit your property to analyze it. This is called the site measure. They're looking for feasibility of building the ADU on your lot, location of sewer and water lines, electrical capacity, potential complications due to power lines, lot characteristics such as hillsides or water drainage, unpermitted work on existing structures, easements, and then of course they're going to need all of the exact measurements of your entire property, including your main house. With this information, the designer will get to work. They'll create a floor plan and you and the designer will discuss it and make changes. The next phase is elevations, where you'll see the ADU from different sides. When you've approved that floor plan and the elevations, also known as schematic designs, the designer will generate a permit set of construction drawings that the city will be required in order to issue the building permits. Okay, now comes the fun part, submitting the plans to the city. After some back and forth, a series of red lines, and several months of waiting, you'll get your building permits. Ta-da! Your designer should be available throughout the whole build process to discuss the plans in case your general contractor has any questions. Okay, so let's talk then. If you've got some ideas for a designer, what do you do next? Here's a few questions that we recommend asking during the interview process. What's a realistic timeline for design and permits? How can your design save me money on the construction costs? Does my budget seem reasonable to you? What are the ADU regulations in my city? Do you have experience with city planning department in my jurisdiction? What is your fee schedule and change policy? Can I call some of your previous ADU design clients? We can connect you to a fabulous designer. There's no shortage of finding great experienced designers with Maxable. We'll handpick a designer who fits your needs and is currently taking clients. All of our design partners are talented, dedicated to creating smart, beautiful ADUs that come in on budget in today's hot construction market. It's exciting that you're getting ready to take this first step, and we would love to support you in it. So if you want to get started with us, go ahead and click the link below for a free ADU planning call. And remember, please like and subscribe.